Bruce Skillin, Georgia Pacific, our next presenter. Let's give him a hand of applause.
Jeff. All right, so to first test this microphone out, I want to do what we all should be doing every time we get up here, and that's to give a shout out to the production team. We really appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah, AB.
Thank you, Bruce.
All right, so I'm Bruce Skillin. I am the Immersive Learning Leader for Georgia Pacific Manufacturing. There's a lot to unpack just in that alone. So let me kind of give you some background of who I am and what we do, and see if that relates to anything of what you're doing. So this is kind of about what's been done. This is not about what could be done. So there might be some parallels to some problems you have in your business. We're going to talk about specifically what problems we've trying to solve and for who. So manufacturing learning. So we serve the shift worker, right? So those folks who are working multiple shifts, they're making some of our great products, like maybe some of that plywood that you're buying from your favorite home store. They might be making some sparkle towels or Angel Soft bathroom tissue. They might be making Dixie cups, Dixie plates, cellulose. There's 11 different manufacturing groups that we serve, 114 facilities, and thousands of folks who are making the cool products or keeping things running, the boilers, et cetera. Those are the folks that we are serving. This is often might be their first job out of high school. These are not engineers. These are operators. These are technicians. So what our mission is to bring those folks new ways of learning that they kind of want to go do. So that's why you'll hear me talk about learning and development versus training. We think of that as a culture shift. So the things that we offer, we want people to kind of want to take. We want you to upskill and get better at what you do and move up the ladder and make more money and have better careers and better lives. And that's just one part of the journey. But you think about the journey, just quick hand raise. How many people are in a new company in the last 2 years? How many people? Okay, I'm going to say 15% pretty easily, and that's probably even a low number. So if you think about that, the amount of change that we're all going through in that first year when you're in that, we think about things along that journey such as orientation. And orientation for us is, well, what does the company make, and what are the things I need to know about my benefits, and what are those HR-related things? And then after orientation, you move on to onboarding. Well, onboarding is kind of centered around your supervisor, your department. What do I need to know to learn about the job that I'm going to be doing? I might be assigned a mentor. I might be working with other technicians. And that's a whole piece to learn, to go through. And then after that, you have upskilling, right? So how do I move forward? I've learned some of these things. How do I get better at what I do? I might want to move up to different roles within the group. So those are the folks that we kind of serve. And I'm guessing some of you folks who deal with operations, you're in that same place. So that's where we are. And so those are my references as we talk through this. So what I'm going to tell you about is about 18 months ago, we went live with the virtual campus Metaverse. And what this is a live learning environment that serves that audience and brings some different tools to them where it makes sense. And we did a lot of analysis up front to say, where does this fit? Because it's not a fit for everybody. It didn't really fit in that upskilling per se. So if I'm very good at what I do and I need some information to go solve a problem, how to shut down a machine, or focus on a lockout, tagout, I might not be going to the Metaverse. I might need something much faster, or we might need a democratized video that I can quickly look at on my phone, or I might need to look at the SOPs. So it's not a fit for everything. So what we learned is we kind of focused on that new learner. Somebody who's doing that, drinking from a fire hose, they're getting all this new information, and could a Metaverse kind of help with that, kind of break that up a little bit, make that a little more engaging? And that's, and with engaging, we're looking for retention. So that's part of the problem we're trying to solve. We're trying to increase retention, and we're trying to decrease that time that new learner kind of spends through that onboarding piece. So those are some of our goals. So when we talk about a metaverse then, now you heard a lot in previous things about industrial metaverses in the future and things like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking what we call an enterprise metaverse. And I'm not going to read through all this because if you're like me, what I really come to some of these things for is I want to go see what other people have done, and I want to learn about their scars, okay? What would you not do today that you didn't do? So I got time for that at the end if I could rush through this. Read along if you can. But the idea is, to us, a metaverse was an opportunity to bring content often that we already had. It didn't have to be 3D content that we had to create to go do some of this stuff. We had a lot of great content. Could we bring it in a more engaging way, again, to increase retention and to make that learner kind of want to learn more and explore more on their own? So this is why we're doing it, right? So we are We are trying to engage those learners. We've learned that it's, it's persistent, it's interactive, it's running 24/7. So I've got that guy who's working the overnight shift. Things are running great. He's got a minute. He can go look at this, right? He can go kind of learn a little bit about some part of the company maybe that he doesn't know about, right? Or another part of his job that he hasn't delved into deeply. Again, it's about improving retention. And we kind of wanted to raise the game a little bit, right? We want to be able to, anything that you're in there, you should be able to touch, interact with. It shouldn't be just a replacement for SharePoint. It should be a complement to SharePoint or whatever your system you use. But you should be able to interact with it in different ways, including to have some AI chat bots who are up and awake anytime you want. So I'm 3 a.m. and I want to go look at this. I can go interact with folks. Well, chat bots. You'll see that in a minute. Bots. So how can I build this, right? Let's say I want to do this. This sounds intriguing. You've got some options, right? You can use Unity. You can use Unreal. If you've got some gaming developers or folks who are interested in getting started with that is a great path forward. You can get a platform. So not listed here is a company called Metaverse. So Metaverse is right out here in the vendor showcase. You can go talk to those folks, and they've got a great platform, very similar to some of these that are listed here, and kind of go see, well, what is this if I could go get a platform and get started? I know you can engage professional services. There's a number of companies that do this and will help you get started, kind of talk you through that. So you've got some options. All right, so our journey. So the gentleman who actually happens to be sitting right down here, so I could pick on him a little bit because he's within where I can see him. The gentleman who worked with us then was we kind of looked at, hey, we should be bringing some of this together. We should be looking at some of these different platforms, and that was my challenge to my team was, hey, let's do a platform approach, right? Let's buy before we build. So can we bring something together because we wanted to have speed to learning. We wanted to get something up quickly. So in November of 2021, we started this journey. We looked at things. We did a bake-off. We went through the process of getting things stood up, and we had this thing in production and live by March. By March, okay? And we got contracts that were signed December, January. So it can be done very quickly. We started with a paradigm. We're learning and development people, so we started with a paradigm around a community college, right? Some learning institution. What does that make sense? We had a lot of debate on that. But that was our paradigm. Go to a place of learning, all right? Cool, what would that be? And how would that grow and how would that go? And we saw that having, kind of a path forward and a maturity model around, well, community college could be a college. It got a little bigger. It could be a university with lots of colleges, and that's kind of how we framed it up and we moved it forward. So what we use specifically, we chose a platform called LearnBright. We liked LearnBright because they had been doing this since about 2014. And they got started in learning and development. And so they spoke a lot of our language, right? That sounded familiar. Anyone here heard of SCORM integration? Put a hand up if SCORM, okay. My L&D brethren are in the house. All right, we get it. They had SCORM integration. Nobody else had that, all right? So, that is an important integration for the learning management systems that you might be using today. It's a bread and butter in L&D. Again, new learner was the initial audience. We were really thinking about those folks who are new to the company. Our onboarding times were really long, measured in weeks. Can we help break that up a little bit? Can we introduce things that would make it a little more enjoyable instead of just death by PowerPoint and talking heads, right? Has anybody gone through any of that? Does that sound familiar, right? I've got heads nodding, yeah. So how do we get something, can this offer something to break that up? Again, as a complement to things that we already had. We believed it needed to be accessible from laptop, mobile, and VR headset, right? When we all heard about Second Life has been around for, since the early 2000s, but if you just kind of got introduced to this in 2021 through a number of folks who were making mindshare conversations, this sounded, it's going to be VR only. No. We saw the main delivery vehicle being the laptop, right? It also had to be able to be used by mobile, but it also had to be able to be used by VR headset. That was some of our guiding principles. And again, visitors must be able to touch, and it didn't replace some things. So Microsoft Teams then was a good tool, and Zoom was a good tool. There were things that they didn't do well, and they were getting better with every release. But we thought, okay, could we also have meetings in here? Could we have an auditorium, and could we share things? Bring subject matter experts in. I've got people who make sparkle towels in Florida, Arkansas, Oregon, other places, and we can't fly them all together. They often don't know each other exists. Would this be a place we could come together and have some of those experts share and teach each other? And the first paradigm we came up with an auditorium. Hey, could we do an auditorium for that? So Here's a whole bunch of areas that you can explore in a virtual campus. We didn't do all these, we did a lot of these. So asset classrooms, we did some things around paper machines and plate machines. That was kind of our bread and butter space. You'll see a whole bunch of things listed here. I can call out one in particular that we felt was very important, was that whole code of conduct. We're not hearing a lot of conversation around that, but you're gonna see that here in a second. If you think about when social media internal social media first hit your organization, we had a lot of conversation, a lot of code of conduct kind of things. And a virtual campus, a metaverse, where you're gathering together and sharing knowledge, is a professional environment. This is a work environment. My name is above my head, okay? So things I say in there, things I do on there reflect on me professionally. So we kind of had to remind people that. Now, that said, I won't lie to you. We learned some pretty good dance moves as avatars in there, okay? And up on tables and things like that. It's a lot of fun you can have, but we got to remind people that we're mixing fun in with learning, right? So a lot of great stuff in here. These presentations are available after the fact, so I'm not going to walk through everything, but this is kind of open your eyes on what some things you can do. All right, so what did it take to build this? I talked about the time frame, that we went from the bake-off process through the contract process to going live for our first event in March. Well, we started with a core group of folks in that kind of architect, designer, builder area, and that was about 4 people. Now here's where the mic drops. Only one of them was in IT. Only one IT person, and he had no gaming development background whatsoever, okay? He was part of an innovation team and was really intrigued by what we were doing, so we had a group of 4 people who were kind of the core. We kind of got started, we set standards, we figured out what made sense, what didn't make sense, and then we brought some other people in. So basically we were having to learn this platform, this LearnBright platform. A lot of it was drag and drop, and they had a lot of libraries that we could pull things from. And we very quickly learned how to do this, made some mistakes, got better at some things, realized some things we needed to standardize on, and that was kind of our core moving forward. 3 of those were L&D and L&D roles, learning and development roles, and one was an information technology gentleman in the innovation space. But there's room for a whole lot of other friends, right? Because we got a lot of really smart L&D people across our company, and so we had folks who wanted to get involved, and we wanted them to be involved in things around curators, right? They're subject matter experts. They know paper machines. They know converting lines. They know Dixie plate machines. Can you come and talk about that? Can you share information? Can you present at a meeting or an event in the virtual campus metaverse, in a metaverse, become an avatar, join the fun. So, and they would often guide us as we built different things out. I talked about event hosts. We thought there was a role for safety and usability. We didn't get as deep in that as we'd like to. We still think that's an opportunity. An analytics role. So I'm going to show a little bit here in a minute about how we measure and some of the ways we thought about measuring. But we got to measure, right? We got to show something. That we had. We had some success. What does success look like? What are our guideposts? But the tagline: there's room for everyone to participate and learn. This isn't just a group over in the corner. This isn't just IT. You can do this. So, value measurements. Well, first thing that was available to us pretty easily within the platform was impressions, right? How many people visited and for how long? Comprehension was something we wanted to get our head around. Again, learning and development folks. How do I know people are learning, right? Well, we use a little gamification on that. We would do knowledge checks. You're going to go see a gentleman here that we bought a friend of ours called Martin. And Martin was our gaming master. And we would see Martin pop up in all sorts of places, and he would ask us questions about the room. Well, if we hadn't gone through the room and looked at things and learned about things, I couldn't answer Martin's questions. If I can't answer Martin's questions, I don't get an achievement for that room. And if I don't get an achievement for that room, I can't level up and become the guru for the whole college. Oh, okay. So we built that comprehension into gamification, right? Retention rates, repeat rates, those sort of things. So marketing, all right, well, having something is great, but you build it and they will come just doesn't work, right? That sounds great, but so we learned we had to kind of publish an event calendar. We had to get out there in our internal social media. The artist formerly known as Yammer, today I believe it's called Engage. We were out there, we were hitting it hard, and we were doing this stuff. We were inviting people from all across our companies. Now, Georgia Pacific is part of the Koch Industries, and so we've got brethren in Vista and Molex and Flint Hills Resources. We've got colleagues who are in Mexico and India and China and all over, and we wanted to be inclusive and show this stuff. We wanted to seek and deliver the best knowledge, but we wanted to get the back. Hey, if you thought about doing this, so we let all if you were within the Koch company family of companies, We let all sorts of folks in and let all sorts of folks know. So we would have events and say, hey, come in, we're going to have a speaker, we're going to do this, please come join us. We're going to have a scavenger hunt, or we're going to do this, and there might be a leaderboard, and you might have some bragging rights. So, and then like any other event, right? So some of the same things that you would do, emails, reminders, et cetera, we learned that we kind of had to push this, right? We had to get this out. And we visited staff meetings, we got with leadership and said, hey, come on, become an avatar. It's all right, you can just do it, you and I, you won't be embarrassed, I promise, we'll get you connected. All right, so how do we get started, right? So again, these are kind of the tips on how you get started. The one thing we learned is it starts that you've already got great content. This is just a new way of delivering it. Yes, you can build out some 3D content, and this is some great ways to start and have an impetus to do that, and we encourage that because there's so many cool things we can do with 3D content. But you got content today. Research what's out there. I can go through the list, but the idea is participate. Get people plugged in, even people who you think, well, yeah, I'm not a gamer, I wouldn't do this. I don't need you to be a gamer, I need you to be a subject matter expert, okay? You know a whole bunch about converting, so I want to hear what you're going to teach us about converting, because we got a bunch of people who, are new to making plates, and they're new to making toilet paper, and they're new to making towels. So, all right. I talked fast through all that on purpose, because this to me is what I would want to see when I came here. And I'm going to go, I've recorded a quick little tour to kind of give you a taste of what some of the things you might see if you were a new learner who visited our virtual campus Metaverse.
Welcome to Georgia Pacific's virtual campus Metaverse. The first stop in any Metaverse is setting up your avatar. What are you going to look like as you collaborate with your colleagues? Now I have mine all set up, but I could go choose from different eyes, face, shoes, hair, etc. But I'm ready to go, so let's just jump right in. The first stop in our Metaverse is the entrance lobby. So we call this the Welcome Center. And in here we learn a little bit about how to get around and what the code of conduct might be. And we've got some friends here who might help us out. So I'm going to go ask Thomas a little bit about what I need to know.
Okay, so these are the bots I was telling you about. Apparently my bots had their microphones muted when I recorded this, kind of like we do on Teams and Zoom and forget. So, but you can see kind of down at the bottom what he's telling me. He's telling me a little bit about, hey, you're new to this environment. There's this thing over here on the wall that will tell you how to get around, okay? Here's what you need to know to click. Here's how you need to move along. And oh, by the way, I got a buddy over there named Carl who's going to tell you a little bit about that code of conduct that we talked about before. So this is kind of often people.
Well, that sounds pretty important. So I think I'm going to go talk to Carl.
Same thing. Carl had his microphone muted too. And I don't know. I can have a word with these guys. But same thing, right? So he's kind of introducing this new concept. It was new for so many people. Hey, let's remember, here's some things you need to know, right? So this was also the first interaction people had with these bots, or the concept of a bot. This was before we started to see bots in Teams and things like that. So folks were kind of, how do we ease them into the tub, right?
Well, as I have already read the code of conduct, I'm allowed to enter the campus. But I would be remiss if I didn't introduce one lady right here. This is Shirley. Shirley's our brand ambassador for the virtual campus. She shows up in places and kind of helps us move along. I'm going to tap her on the shoulder now, and she's going to launch me into the campus. But had I wanted, I could have had a conversation with Shirley, and she'd have told me a whole lot more about the journey I'm about to take. And sure enough, there's Shirley right here at our entrance. So from here, I can look around. I might hear birds chirping. I might see a very beautiful ocean and sunset behind me, palm trees. Oh, this is a nice looking place compared to some of the cold places I might find myself in. There's another gentleman over here I might want to go take a talk to. Let's go do that. This gentleman is Martin.
So again, every time we see Martin,
no, maybe later.
He's going to challenge us to do something. And up front, he was challenging us to a scavenger hunt, right? And the idea of the scavenger hunt.
So Martin is our game master, and we will find him in various places across the virtual campus. And anytime we find him, he'll challenge us to a game. Now, it's not just any game. Every game teaches us something. So in the case here, he would challenge me to a scavenger hunt, where I could go all across the campus and find things. And once I collected all those things, I get an achievement. There's lots of great things here in the beginning of the campus. Over here we have kind of a avatar best practices that was developed that I can click on and kind of learn a little bit about title and attire recommendations. After all, this is a professional setting. We do want to look good. But I'm going to go over here and see what this is about. So this is our Fast Pass kiosk, and here I could grab some Fast Passes that would let me jump around kind of into some of the more advanced games that we might find here that help us learn things about how to make our products. What I'm going to do instead, though, is I'm going to go to the campus directory, and I'm going to go take you to one of the colleges. So this is the Dixie College. So the Dixie organization makes some really great products of plates, bowls, cutlery, cups, and in here I can walk around, and sure enough, I see my friend Martin. If I was to tap Martin on the shoulder, he would challenge me to read some of these things here on the wall, and he would quiz me to see what I knew about the Dixie history. There's a lot of great information here about Dixie. Going around the room, I can see some place to learn about cup making. I see a room for printing. Let's go into this cup making room. So in the cup making room, we will see an example of some of the things that someone new to Dixie and new to cup making might need to learn. And again, there's our friend Martin. And if I tap Martin on the shoulder, he's going to challenge me to go around the room and go learn about some things. But I've already done that, so let's just kind of shortcut things and see what there is. All right, over here we've got a video that I can watch. Now, that video is kind of an introduction to cup making from one of our vendors. Over here, I might find Matterport spaces. Now, those of you who are not familiar with Matterport, Matterport's a great platform that we use to go do virtual tours of many of our assets that learn. So new learners can come in and kind of see the asset. We can have conversations around it, learn about what the parts are, all in a 3D environment. And so those are three very important assets that I would need to learn about in the cup making space. As I work my way around the room, I see something very odd looking up here. Let me see what this is. I'm going to click on that. And, oh, hey, what do you know? I found a piece of the scavenger hunt. So if you remember in the beginning, I said Martin challenged us. So there's 15 different items across the campus that I need to collect so I can get the scavenger hunt achievement. What that does is that helps new learners walk through the campus and kind of get comfortable with getting around. Here we have what's called a media board. And in this media board, I could sit down and someone could give me a class from afar. They can click anywhere in our campus, in our GP network, any of our facilities, could come in here and teach me a little bit about cup making. So if we had an event going, we could have a few people in here and have that conversation. So here again, I'm a new learner and I need to learn about the process flow. What is the process of making cups? So I can kind of click on these and walk through that. But if I'm kind of done with that, one of the other things I can do is I can come over here, kind of this sitting area, and kind of sit down and maybe talk with some other folks who are new, or maybe some experienced subject matter experts can tell me a little bit more about cup making in kind of a casual environment. Well, that is not the only stop we're going to make, so let's go see what, I'll tell you what, let's go back to the lobby of the Dixie College first and look at what some of the other doors might be. So what we also see here is a number of other doors that teach us a little bit about plate and bowl making, making lids, making cutlery. We saw printing here before. Over here I can learn a little bit about the Dixie brand in action, so we can see some of the marketing campaigns that are going on. I can learn about new products such as our Dixie cutting boards. And what I'm going to do now is let's go back out into the campus and see what other things are available. You can see here on the campus directory that we have a college for our towel, tissue, and napkin products. So products like Brawny, Sparkle, Angel Soft. And we also have our cellulose division. So here's some great products made by them. We can kind of learn about the whole cellulose process and what that's about. Very similar to the Dixie campus. So, but I'm going to go take you to the auditorium. Let's go see what this is about. So in the auditorium, like any auditorium, is a place to gather in a group and learn about things from folks kind of teaching us something new. So I'm going to go sit down here at a chair, and if there was a event that was coming, it would show up here, and we have 3 different screens that could be playing at once. showing maybe a PowerPoint, maybe showing a video. We might have a guest that comes in, but it's all facilitated by someone standing up at a podium. So it's a very familiar concept that we're used to in the physical world. Looking over here, we can see that we're on top of a building. This building here actually is one of our facilities. And if I go, let's see, over here, I can see that I'm standing on the roof of a plate and bowl factory that's located in one of the towns where Biloxi Blues was filmed. Let's see which one that is. Oh, Fort Smith, Arkansas. Excellent. So there's also, let's go visit our Learning and Development Center. Here is where we have some classrooms with the idea of being able to have some instructor-led training from virtual environments. So imagine an instructor in Florida who wanted to give a class to folks who were in Arkansas, Louisiana, anywhere that these folks would be, and he wouldn't have to fly to go see them. And much like Teams, we could present right here on the screen, and we also have multiple screens that can be used. So not only could we have one presenter, could be somebody up front here teaching a class, but we could bring in some other presenters from other places to offer color commentary. And again, if I look out the window here, I can see that I am on top of another GP facility looking out across a mill. So let's take you to one last stop, because sometimes you just need to get together and talk. So let's go visit the meeting lounge and understand what we're going to be able to find there. So here in the meeting lounge, this is not as much focused on product as it is collaboration. So here I can sit down, invite some colleagues, and have a conversation about guiding principles or some new project, and kind of just enjoy myself. Well, that's our quick tour of the virtual campus metaverse.
Okay, so I take you through all that just to kind of give you some ideas of some of the things that you could do. Obviously, there's a whole lot more going on in there, but what worked well and what, where are the scars? So here's kind of some of the things that worked well. Different things appealed to different people. The schedule events really appealed to some of our operators and technicians. Some other folks, not so much, right? Some people preferred that kind of, I walk through the Dixie cup making and I learn about the process kind of thing. I have the self-paced learning concept. We really got the most excitement around that is anybody who was new to the company or new to that division. Maybe I'd been working over in cellulose for 10 years and now I've taken a role over in Dixie and I don't know anything about cup making, right? Those folks loved this concept that they could kind of do it anytime, anywhere. So water cooler chats was another one when we had events. Okay, so folks are now together in a room. They could have a conversation afterwards on the way out before they go back to work, and they get to meet people they'd never know, right? So all these facilities I rattle off often don't know each other, but they got people doing the exact same job they are. And man, what a kindred spirit who's doing the stuff you are, and you can kind of compare notes on some of the stuff you're doing. What would we do different? What needs more? Now, limited bandwidth. You always got to put a plug in there. And if you're going to do this on mobile, you're going to do this in VR headsets, you got to be in a place where you're going to have some great bandwidth. You got challenges. The biggest thing that we would like to get our head around and what we learned was instructor-led training. So we took two instructors. One was a 10-year college. She'd been teaching college for 10 years. And another gentleman who, long history in enterprises from Anheuser-Busch and Georgia Pacific, has been teaching learning and development for years. And we said, okay, you've got classes you normally teach. Could you teach them in here? We'll teach you how to go put stuff up on the walls and go do things, and that's great. And remember, I showed you a classroom setting where we'd set up a few classrooms where folks could come use that all the time. Well, we take that from our own facilities, right? We got classrooms and conference rooms in our facilities. That was kind of the mental model. These learners, these leaders, these teachers, they said, you know what? I need to make this mine. I need to doll this up to make this look like the thing I'm teaching. And they went to town, okay? They put a whole bunch of stuff up. And when they were done, they really wanted it to stay up because they wanted to come back again and again and teach that class. So that concept of the reusable classroom really didn't resonate as much as, hey, can I develop one and kind of put it on the shelf when I'm done? And next month when I need to teach Paper Making 101, I pull it off the shelf and I invite new paper makers and we'll go have the class in there. So that's the journey. So now we open for questions, comments, or snide remarks. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Ask Bruce a question off stage, just for purposes of time.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Bruce. Once again.